The verdict in the George Zimmerman case shines a spotlight on the issue of race in America, but there's been a lot of criticism how the media have been covering the issue. One recent editorial about the media handling of this sensitive topic caught our attention. In the Miami Herald, Leonard Pitts writes, quote, "The reason we tend to drop race like a hot potato, I think, is that contrary to what some of my readers contend, we in the news media draw our members from the ranks of the human race, and human beings, particularly in this country with its fraught history of racial slavery, violence, suppression, exclusion, and murder, often find race a very difficult subject to talk about." End quote. Is he right? Let's bring in our News Watch panel. Jim Pinkerton is a contributing editor and writer for the American Conservative magazine and a Fox News contributor. Alan Colmes, you know, the host of the Alan Colmes Show and author of Thank the Liberals for Saving America and Why You Should. So let's get to you first, Alan. Does Pitts have it right? I mean, do the media spend enough time talking about race in this country?
I think Pitts has a very good point when he says that we only seem to talk about it after a tragedy like what happened with Trayvon Martin. We talk about it when there's an element in the news that makes it a big story, but we don't talk about the underpinnings of it at a time when there is not a major news story like that. And to really explain, for example, the link between poverty and race and why that happens, the link between, for example, voter ID and how those laws affect race and negatively affect African Americans. I don't think the media does enough to explain some of those issues, but only in the wake of something like Trayvon Martin do we really start to have this conversation.
But is it also fair to say, Alan, I mean, you know, the point has been made that black-on-black crime, for instance, is a much bigger problem than white-on-black crime.
Well, I think that is true, but obviously the statistics will bear that out. But I think we need to discuss why that happens. Again, it's an issue of poverty. It's an issue of generational issues. Why is it that way? Is it because of the color of their skin? No. It's because of other environmental factors. And I think this is what the media falls down on in not doing its job properly.
All right. So, Jim, what do you think about how the media does that job?
Well, I think the challenge here is that when somebody tries to speak honestly about these issues in the full range of the issues, they get hooted off the stage. I think we're seeing that happen to CNN's Don Lemon right now, the anchor who a few days ago said that, look, if you really want to help my fellow African Americans, this is him talking now, we got to dress better and behave better and, you know, commit fewer crimes and have fewer children out of wedlock. It was an extremely honest statement that basically recapitulated what, for example, Juan Williams would say on this air, or what Martin Luther King was saying 50 years ago, or Booker T. Washington was saying 100 years ago. That is, if you want to make it in America, Jackie Robinson would be another one. You got to live by certain standards and behave yourself. And Lemon is being clobbered in the Twitter sphere by the likes of Goldie Taylor at MSNBC. Let's hope that he has the courage that Juan Williams has had to keep it up. But let's have a full and fair debate about that, too.
I think it's good that Don Lemon's talking out. I object when Don Lemon gets called an Uncle Tom simply for having a different point of view than people think he's supposed to have. And I think it's courageous for him to do it, just like Bill O'Reilly on our air speaks out about it and says some things that may be uncomfortable, but it's important that we have this dialogue, and that is what's healthy about this conversation.
Obviously, O'Reilly said that one of the problems that has happened to blacks in America, one of the tremendous problems in his view that is facing them is the breakdown of the family. Lemon actually defended him on that point, said he didn't go far enough.
Well, it's interesting. I wonder if there's a perception, again, this is perception versus reality, that when a white person says something versus when a black person says it, does it sit differently with the American public? I'm just asking that question.
Here's the problem from a media point of view, and the way the media cover these things. The black who says it, they come after him much harder. Bill O'Reilly says it. You know, the liberal gatekeepers don't really care. They just expect it out of him. But when a Juan Williams or a Clarence Thomas or a Larry Elder or a Don Lemon say it, then they really go after him because they want to eliminate that thought from the discourse. The people who are really brave are the African Americans who say, look, we got to reform ourselves. This is an inward thing as well as an outward thing. By the way, Don Lemon is no conservative. If he's watched his coverage of the Trayvon Martin trial, he's no conservative. He's also, you know, was a leader in gay rights. He was covering the Supreme Court's gay rights decision, you know, from a gay bar in New York City. I mean, he's a very interesting figure. Let's hope that he has the courage to keep speaking out on this particular issue, because it's probably the most important.
I'd like to build on what you just said and also what I said earlier, which is that we'll have true equality in this country when someone like Don Lemon or any other person of color can make a statement that doesn't conform with what the so-called majority believes without being called names, without being called Uncle Tom, and that we can have a diversity of opinion among people of color without that kind of name-calling going on.
And you could add Dr. Ben Carson to that list as well. We're going to have to leave it there. Gentlemen, thanks for